I was driving to work this morning, I was listening to another radio station, as we broadcasters sometimes do. What I heard shocked and saddened me.
The Entertainment Roundtable.
They're here, nerds.
Wait, is this the group that goes around mutilating squirrels?
You just mind your P's and Q's, Buster, and remember who you're dealing with.
Well, at least we found them.
Fortuitous, Captain. And now that we have them all together,
you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs.
The Entertainment Roundtable.
They make one person go, blah, 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 and the other person go, what are you talking about? And then one person goes, blah, 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 blah.
Hey, welcome in. Listening to post-Memorial Day weekend edition of the Entertainment Roundtable. Hope everything is going well. Hope everybody got through the 4-day shortened work week. Next week, another long week.
Back to normal.
I know. Got to wait until July 4th to get another one of them holidays.
It'll be here before you know it, Steve.
I can't wait. In the meantime, we will have plenty to keep us occupied because there are a lot of big movies coming out. And Jeff, you actually had the chance to see not just one, but two films over the past weekend.
I sure did, Steve.
Ryan, have you had the chance to go see anything?
Yes, I have. I've seen X-Men Days of Future Past as well as Maleficent.
All right, so we'll have Maleficent. We'll have two reviews of X-Men. You've got a review of a movie that we talked about last week coming out in limited release called Cold in July.
That's correct.
And Jacob and I last night had the opportunity to go check out the film A Million Days to Die in the West.
Oh, good.
We are chock full of reviews for you coming up here in just a little bit. Hello, Jacob. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Good. Ryan, everything's fine in Maryland?
Everything is exciting.
Nicely put. I see what he did there.
I do too.
And David just walked into the studio and looking a little haggard. You've been, I think, helping people move.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff this last couple weeks.
Sounds like all kinds of fun right there. And it unfortunately prompted you to miss out on the ability to go check out a movie when we went to go see A Million Days to Die in the West.
Yeah, I really wanted to as well. I
understand.
I was really upset.
You're so obligated.
I was so sad.
Look at him.
Obligated.
He's so forlorn.
I know. He's so sad. We'll see if he's sad after we run with our reviews and go from there.
Oh, I've seen a lot of the reviews online, so I doubt it. Yeah. But I'm still going to see it.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so here we go. As we get underway, and of course, several ways you can contact the show. You can contact us on Facebook, facebook.com/whatever with Steve West. That is become the official Facebook page of this particular show. We're still on Twitter somewhere, even though I'm really not in control of that thing because I've never actually gotten onto Twitter. What was it? At Roundtable or at Entertainment Roundtable? What was it?
I think it's at Entertainment O Table.
Something like that. I've totally blitzed on the whole idea of even me dealing with Twitter. Not even sure if I'm ever going to do it personally. Oh, by the way, we got an update on the Fantasy League, our summer movie draft league.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a new leader in the clubhouse.
Interesting.
It ain't me no more. We'll talk about that coming up in a bit. First things first, before we get into the top 10, outside of the top 10 was the film that we just mentioned a little bit ago. Star-studded film. It's called Cold in July. It's a limited release film, but you had the opportunity to go check it out, didn't you, Jeff?
Actually, it's on demand, so I just ordered it up from DirecTV and watched it at home.
Nice.
Got Michael C. Hall, Sam Shepard, and Don Johnson, and another one of his really cool comeback roles he's done the last few years.
He's trying to, yeah.
But it's based on a book by my favorite author, Joe Lansdale, set back in East Texas in 1989. Michael C. Hall is a father who finds someone breaking into his house, shoots him, and supposedly this man's father gets out of jail and, kind of starts thinking maybe he might want to get back at the gentleman who killed his son. A little bit of revenge. But things aren't quite that simple. And it's a solid little, sort of throwback crime thriller, revenge type movie. It had some plot threads that I felt they didn't really follow that they should have. But as far as just the pacing's good, it keeps the information and the events happening, and of course it ends on a nice big shoot 'em up kind of note. But overall, I'd give it a solid 6.5.
Okay. Well, it's Texas. What would you figure? Hollywood pretty much figures, hey, Texas got to have a shootout.
Right. It was directed by a gentleman named Jim Mickle, but if you didn't know that, you could almost swear that it was an 80s Carpenter film. It used like the same Carpenter font and all this synth music for the score. So it's sort of a nice little, pulpy crime throwback.
So you're going 6.5?
Sure.
All right. Interesting. Let's see where else we go as we head on up the list from number 10, where Heaven is for Real just continues to hang in there, 2.8 million, so 86.6 there. Chef comes into the top 10. It's been a movie that has been added to certain theaters over the course of the past couple of weeks since it was put out in limited release, enough now to gain $3 million. It's 4.3 overall. I don't know how wide this is going to end up being, but I've heard some good things and some not so good things about it. Some people have said it's really funny, and then I've heard other people say, well, it was supposed to be funny, but it really wasn't. I think I'll wait for it to come out. Redbox. I am intrigued. I mean, it's got a good name, a bunch of stars like you were talking about with the movie Cold in July, so I'd be interested in checking it out. I thought you were about to say something. You look like you had something almost on your mind there, David.
Nope,
You
just
good?
breathing.
Just breathing.
Focus.
I'm living. I'm concentrating on living. Up to number 8 in the movie Rio 2, 3.4 million, 122.5. The Other Woman is at number 7, 4.5 million, so 78.6 there. $1 Million Arm in at number 5. Didn't really drop off a whole lot from one week to the next. Made $9.2 million, so 22.7 there. Into the top 5, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, another $10 million, so 187.1 there. Neighbors up over the $100 million mark, made $17.1 million over the weekend, 116.8 million there. Blended, the Adam Sandler Drew Barrymore film, debuts to $17.7 million, and not a one of us has seen this movie yet, have we?
I keep forgetting it exists.
It's in my draft.
Yeah, that's true. It is, Ryan.
The desire's not in me.
Yeah, I don't know. My next-door neighbor has said, I am curious about it, but he has yet to actually go and say, I'm going to go ahead and do that. By the way, Jacob, you missed on the fact that Ryan has blended in his draft.
I missed one.
Yeah, you did. Don't worry. It's not
Add
going
17.7 to that.
Yeah, it will move him up one position in the standings.
Nice.
So there you go. And let's see, that brings us up to number 2, Godzilla, 38.4 million. So, I mean, it dropped off like 50%, but 38.4 million is nothing to sneeze at. So Godzilla's at 155.8 million. And that brings us to the debut of X-Men, Days of Future Past, $110.6 million. Now, Jacob and I have given our reviews of X-Men Days of Future Past, and David, you did as well.
I gave a very shortened review, yes.
Yeah, and you thought it was the best out of what we had seen. You gave it
I did.
An 8, I believe?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And I stand by that.
You and I, Jacob, came in a little bit lower, but not too much lower than that, as I remember.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's start. You've already given a review. I'm going to go with Ryan first here. Ryan, your thoughts. X-Men, Days of Future Past.
For X-Men, I thought this was... I had a lot of expectation for this film. I mean, the expectations were higher than the Chrysler Building, for Pete's sake. I thought could go either way, and this film turned out to be an epic masterpiece. I thought it was action-packed. It had a great story behind it. The cast brought their A game and then some. James McAvoy was fantastic. He was one of the more standout characters in this film as the younger version of Professor Xavier. Great stuff. There were a few unanswered questions towards the end of the film, few plot holes here and there. I wanted to see more in the future scenes. I wanted to see a little bit more of the Sentinels and more action with that and other stuff and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, despite all that, the positives far outweigh the negatives. It is extremely awesome. It is the best X-Men film yet that we have seen. It makes up for all the negativity of the last number of films that have come out on behalf of this franchise. Bryan Singer, we're happy that you're back. Stick around for a couple of more films, my man, because you just gave us your best film ever in your directorial career. I give X-Men Days of Future Past a 9 out of 10. I've seen this film twice. If you have not seen this film, what are you waiting for? Go out and see it.
All right. Well, Ryan's gone the highest of all of us here at a 9 out of 10. What, while you've got our fine friends over at Rotten Tomatoes there, Jeff, take a quick look and see where it sits.
91%.
91%. Okay, so that actually kind of goes with what Ryan is saying. Jeff, you agree? You a little bit more on the side of where Jacob and I fell, where we felt like it had some difficulties that we had some hard times getting over the hurdles with?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was honestly, I couldn't believe, when it was over with, I couldn't believe they had pulled it off. You know,
Okay.
when they announced that they were going to do this and what they were intending to do to sort of merge, you know, the old cast and the cast in First Class together, I was like, you know what, I didn't have a lot of faith, to be honest with you. But they actually pulled it off. It was really good. Probably the best of the Team X-Men movies, absolutely. I give it a solid 8.
Okay.
Like I said, and I'm glad that they're going to go with the younger guys, the First Class guys after this, because as much as I love McKellen and Patrick Stewart and all the rest of them, Fassbender and McAvoy together are just awesome.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, and didn't we talk about this last week? Anybody chime in on this? Didn't we find out that there was the possibility some of the original cast, if not all of the original cast, might continue to show up in future films?
It's possible, whatever. But I'm pretty sure at this point forward they're going to focus on.
I think the main focus should be on them. Yeah,
the younger crew. So
I think we've kind of gotten to that point finally.
Yeah. Plus, let's be honest. Stewart, McKellen, we're not guaranteed a lot of years out of them.
Oh, bite thy tongue. Bite thy tongue, sir.
I'm just being honest.
He's probably quite right in the fact that they have more days behind them than ahead of them.
I mean, this is the first film.
I believe that was like a line from Star Trek Generations from Patrick Stewart.
I mean, this is the first time I noticed,
more days behind him than in front of him.
It has become clear to me that there's more days behind than in front, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, must have gotten it from somewhere.
It's the first film I noticed Stewart, actually, he has a waddle now.
Yeah, he's starting to show that age a little bit.
Yep.
I saw that waddle a while ago. I think it was Nemesis, Star Trek Nemesis. I saw that for the first time. I was like, oh.
Engage.
All right. That brings us up to what's coming out this week, and that is two major films. Maleficent stars Angelina Jolie, Elle Fanning. Movie about a vindictive fairy who curses an infant princess only to later realize the child may be the key to restoring peace. Really? All right. Is that an accurate representation, Ryan? And what did you think of it?
I think in some way, shape, or form it was, yes. As far as the overall look of the film, Maleficent is visually stunning. It's spectacular in every sense of the word visually, and Angelina Jolie is back. She is better than ever. She carries this film so well, despite the fact that I think it's a weak screenplay. The characters are wooden, they're one-dimensional, they're very cheesy, they're over the top. I totally understand why Disney went in this direction with a PG rating rather than PG-13 and going even darker and darker and darker with this character. And yeah, Maleficent is the center of the film, but some of the characters are just too, like I said before, OTT, cheesy stuff. No, I mean, they do the best they can, but Angelina Jolie is the one who really carries the film, and I like the twist they put on the story, but overall, I think this film visually was good, but could have been executed a whole lot better. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.
Okay. In talking last night to the people at our fine friends down at Amstar and got kind of mixed reviews, one person thought that it was fantastic, loved it. Another person I looked at, she said, hated the film because they changed the story too much from the book. So I've never read the book, didn't even know there was a book in existence. That said, there you go, 5 out of 10 for Ryan. So that would kind of fit between the two people that I'm talking about. Where are we sitting on Rotten Tomatoes as far as that's concerned, Maleficent?
It is at a 48%. People are not being very kind to it.
Oh, smack. What about A Million Days to Die in the West here? How are they looking at it?
Oh, even less kindly.
Even less kindly.
34.
Jacob, you and I had the chance to go check it out last night. I'll let you go first.
All right. Well, there's a lot I have to say, so I'll try to keep it quick.
Okay, real quick. Let me before you go that way. I just realized I didn't actually give the rundown of it. Seth MacFarlane, Charlize Theron, Liam Neeson, and quite actually a few other names in this Western comedy where a farmer begins to fall for a new woman, but gains the ire of her husband, turning out to be a notorious gunslinger. Now go ahead.
All right. What this movie does well, it does really well, but what it does badly, it does really bad.
Okay.
The story is really good, but it's very slow in the beginning. It's slow to take off.
Okay.
The humor, it's funny, and it's got this smart, witty humor to it, but they also throw in just tons of vulgar comedy, which I'm okay with, but it's like almost like a 13-year-old wrote it and was like, oh, we haven't made a vulgar joke in a while. We got to throw in a vulgar joke, and some of it was just unnecessary. It didn't add. I mean, it's funny, but not like it didn't add to the movie. It felt thrown in. And then musically, the score is really good. I mean, when it's there, it's fantastic. But there were just some scenes where there was just no background music, and it's very evident and awkward that there's nothing there. So for me, it's one of those movies I want to say I loved, but it just misses that mark for me. So I'm giving it a 6.5.
Okay. My neighbor went with us. He looked at it and said, 4.5. And I'm right there with him. In looking at this film, I agree with just about everything you said, Jacob, in the fact that beautiful. It's beautifully done. I mean, when you think of the cinematography, it's wonderful. But like in the opening credits, for example, they spend a lot of time showing you Western landscapes, and you're thinking it's going to go somewhere, and it really doesn't. So you're spending a whole lot of time in the credits, which, by the way, Seth MacFarlane apparently loves to see his name on the screen because it was up there a lot. And I'm kind of going, okay, we're going to go somewhere with this, aren't we? Aren't we? Can't we? Shouldn't we be going somewhere with this? Like you said, it was a very, very slow kickoff. You're right in this fact. When it was funny, it was absolutely funny. There were quite a few times when I found myself laughing out loud, and I wasn't absolutely certain that I would. But those places where you do laugh out loud for me were way too far and few. And I'm just sitting there going, this should have been a much funnier film. I got the impression right at the beginning where when the credits came up and you're starting to see everything, all of a sudden I'm going, hey, Seth MacFarlane's trying to kind of capture the idea of what Mel Brooks did with Blazing Saddles. In some ways he has, because if you don't walk out of A Million Days to Die in the West somehow offended, probably you didn't really go see the film that well, just like Blazing Saddles. But Blazing Saddles is eminently a much funnier film, even though the fact that it probably will make you bristle a little bit if you are tender in nature when it comes to being offended. Again, there are some great times when you get in there and you can tell either the line was ad-libbed or they actually paid really close attention to the script in that case because it was really funny. And then you got around to this next thing and you're like, what were you thinking there? That just doesn't do anything. So they threw in a bunch of big names that you recognize in some cameos, a couple of people in a major role. For example, Sarah Silverman is in this. She plays the boyfriend of Giovanni Ribisi's character. Giovanni Ribisi's character is a great friend of Seth MacFarlane's character. I can understand the friendship. Her character was an absolute throwaway. The movie does not get... It adds nothing with her in it. Her character absolutely brings nothing to the table other than the fact that it can bring some, as you were talking about, some 11, 12, 13-year-old humor into it. That's really all that it does. It was kind of a waste of time there. They brought in Bill Maher at one point in time to be an MC, and that was kind of funny in the late-night talk show host kind of thing that they were trying to pull off there, but it wasn't really all that funny of a skit. At the very end of the film, though, Jamie Foxx comes in, and you'll understand why. As soon as you see that particular part, you'll understand why he comes in. That was actually pretty well done. So it's a very uneven film. It's just, I wanted to like it a lot more than I did. Unfortunately, I come in at a 5 out of 10. It's just, unfortunately, not as good as I wanted it to be.
Well, from what I understand, he co-wrote this with the guys who wrote Dads.
That would explain a lot.
Yeah.
Does everyone die in the West at the end? And number two, how was the Christopher Lloyd cameo?
Quick and a little bit unexpected for me in the fact that I had not seen a preview of it. Jacob, you said you saw it in a preview.
Yeah, I think they had put it into a TV spot, and so like it kind of like that. It was there's nothing more. What you see on the TV spot is pretty much.
Yeah, it was a very quick hit. They didn't spend hardly any time on it at all. It was a very quick hitting thing, as most of the cameos were, by the way.
Right.
And as far as A Million Days to Die in the West, I only counted, I think, about 7.
Yeah, maybe 10 at the most. People die.
And they had the possibility of doing this running gag throughout the entire film, and you thought that they were going to start doing the running gag of showing some of the million ways that you could die, and then they just kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 5 out of 10 for me, 6.5 out of 10 for Jacob, 4.5 for my neighbor. Dissuaded? Or still want to go see it, David?
No, I'll still go see it.
Okay.
I'm curious
to see what you think about it.
Plus, I try to support any modern day Western that's made because you just don't see a lot of Westerns anymore.
That's true. This one could have been done so much better, though.
I'm sure it could have been, but you know.
All right, here we go, running through and looking at the limited release schedule here. If you're so interested, check your local listings. Make sure it's playing somewhere near you. You got Night Moves. It stars Jesse Eisenberg and Dakota Fanning, a movie called Filth, starring the aforementioned James McAvoy, along with Jamie Bell, a movie called We Are the Best. I think this is a Bollywood film called Korangal, and there's a film called The Grand Selection, which stars Taylor Kitsch and Brendan Gleeson. And coming out in theaters next week, a couple of films. One that you're very interested in, Jeff, because this will finally put you on the board. as
Yes,
far as
sir.
movies are concerned. The Fault in Our Stars, and you got the movie Edge of Tomorrow coming out next week as well. So with that said, we have got to get to some movie news here, and it includes, hey, what a shock, Marvel's back in the news. More on that in a bit.
They do all their own stunts. The Entertainment Roundtable on Superstation 101.
Welcome back in, listening to the Entertainment Roundtable here, Superstation 101 WIDE. Coming back to the sounds of Chuck Mangione. I couldn't find anything out of Maleficent or A Million Days to Die in the West as far as the soundtrack is concerned, so I had to go back to what was in the top 10. This actually appears for a short period of time in the film The Other Woman. So there you go. At some point in time, didn't I impress you or something like that I actually knew who did that, Jacob?
Wouldn't surprise me if you did.
Yeah.
I do like me some Chuck Mangione.
As well you should. That's the only song I actually think I know that he ever did.
He's got some other good ones.
I'll take your word for that. All right, first up, and we're going to open this up, but I have to give credit to Daniel because he actually gave it to me first, our intrepid listener from North Alabama. Word that there could be trouble on the set of next year's Ant-Man from Disney and Marvel. Seems that the director, Edgar Wright, has exited stage left due to what he termed creative differences. The studio states the split was amicable. It will not affect the planned July 17th, 2015 release date, but they're promising that a new director will be attached soon. Ryan, you checked in probably next up on this, and you had questioned whether this meant trouble for this movie as well. Why do you think it might?
Well, Edgar Wright has been attached to this project for over 8 years, as I've recently read over the last number of days. And, Ant-Man's been in the works for a long, long time, and they're trying to get it on the big screen. And now with Edgar Wright leaving, it leaves a gap to be filled. But then again, we've had people leave and people come in. Sometimes it works out, other times it doesn't. So I wish Marvel the best of luck because Ant-Man is an unknown property to 99.9% of the movie-going audience. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it.
Does this worry you at all, Jeff?
Worry me? Nah. Kind of makes me a little mad.
Yeah.
Like you said, they wouldn't be making this movie, right? Was the only reason this movie was getting made.
Mm-hmm.
And then from everything I've read, right before shooting starts, Marvel sends him back a rewrite, says, here's what you're working with. And he says, no, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Marvel's trying to take a little bit more control over this than what Edgar Wright had initially wanted.
Because Edgar Wright, he's probably going to make something terrible. Let's be honest. He doesn't know what he's doing.
All right. So where do we go from here? Anybody heard anything on this?
Well, the rumor that I've heard is that Adam McKay has met with Marvel to talk about this, which I'm not overly thrilled about. But
neither you nor David, apparently. David, why?
I think it's obvious, isn't it? I mean, look, I can understand why they would have creative differences with Wright. I can understand why he would leave. And, hey, look, if you're Edgar Wright and you're dealing with a guy like Joss Whedon, who is overseeing an entire series of films, and he gets a rewrite back probably from Whedon that says, look, we need to change these major story points to fit in with this larger universe. And of course he's going to be like, no. Mm-hmm. Because he's Edgar Wright, and he's never really dealt with like a really big studio. He's just done whatever he's wanted to do all these years.
Okay.
So I'm not really worried about it, but at the same time, like
Adam McKay is not your choice, though.
No, not at all.
He just points and shoots people talking.
Yeah.
He has no style of his own.
Yeah.
Camera, still, talk. That's Adam McKay's. I mean, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like his movies are funny, but at the same time, they're not visually creative at all.
Now, if they were keeping enough and Wright actually had a fair amount shot or storyboarded or whatever, and he just does whatever Wright was going to do, okay.
Adam McKay's being linked to this, or has he been signed, Jacob?
He hasn't been signed. It's basically rumor that he has met with them or is meeting with them. I just saw it maybe an hour ago.
All right. This isn't necessarily supposed to be a funny film, is it?
Well, I mean, it's Edgar Wright. It was probably going to be more humorous than action-y, but I mean, I expected it to be more along Hot Fuzz,
But from what I'm hearing, they're still going to be using the Edgar Wright Joe Cornish script they've been working from all this time.
Yeah.
So it still might be funny.
All right.
And that might work.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll get closer and closer, and I'm sure within the next couple of weeks they will come up with somebody to go in there and direct that film. Coming soon, apparently, a biopicture of the life of the famed magician Harry Houdini. Ryan, who's set to sign, and apparently there's going to be more to his role with the film than just acting.
I suppose so. Johnny Depp has signed on to play Harry Houdini in the film known as The Secret Life of Harry Houdini, based on the book of the same name. It's going to be directed by Galaxy Quest veteran Dean Pariseau. The novel is described as a groundbreaking biography, with the authors attempting to expose the man behind the myth, explain just why he became such a daredevil. Rather than a straightforward biopic, Lionsgate envisions the film to be an action thriller in the vein of Indiana Jones.
You're going to take the life of Harry Houdini and try and make it Indiana Jones-like?
I don't know. Either way, I'm not sure if this is really good news or not, because Johnny Depp is going back to a goofball role, and he needs to do more dramatic and serious stuff.
This could be played in a dramatic way, don't get me wrong, because Harry Houdini, I mean, granted, we're known for his things that he did on the stage, getting out of chains that were, and being dunked in water in a straitjacket and things like that, but he also spent a lot of time going through and trying to kind of expose people who claim to be psychics and actually found out many, many ways to be able to debunk all of the things that they were claiming that they knew, so to speak. I think it could be done pretty well if they take it seriously. I don't necessarily really see a whole lot of room for comedy in the life of Harry Houdini. He wasn't really known as a comic genius. It's not like he's playing Robert Downey Jr. doing Charlie Chaplin or anything like that.
Well, I'd like to point out that the last time we got Johnny Depp in a serious role, we got Transcendence.
Yeah, there you go.
Question is whether that was him or the material.
I think it was the script.
I'm kind of done with Johnny Depp anyway.
Are you?
I'm sure they let him read it.
Well, let's hope they did, yeah.
I think Depp is probably like walking now. He just kind of highlights his own lines. He's like, okay, that sounds pretty good.
I actually read it.
Doesn't read anything else.
I don't mean to derail, but I read an article the other day where the guy was like, you know what? Have we been giving Depp a pass all these years? Does he really stink as an actor? He just got lucky at the beginning of his career.
We're gonna start seeing him, sink into Nicolas Cage depths.
Hey, talk about a segue. I got one for you. Speaking of Depp to Nicolas Cage, apparently there is a remake of the film Left Behind, which in its original form starred Kirk Cameron, and, well, it wasn't good. Ryan, you seen a trailer for the new one. What'd you think, and when's it coming out?
Well, I'm not sure if this reboot's going to fare any better, but it does star the Cage, Nicolas Cage, with Chad Michael Murray, Jordan Sparks. It's going to hit theaters everywhere on October the 3rd.
Now, this is based upon the book of the same name. This was a very, very popular series of books, the Left Behind series. And it does kind of continue along a thread that we seem to be having this year, whether you're talking about Noah, loosely, obviously. You got God's Not Dead, you got Heaven is for Real, Mom's Night Out. All three of those actually can still be found in movie theaters if you look. And then later on this year, we're dealing with this film, Left Behind, based upon the idea that the rapture comes, and we're now following the people that have been, as the title would say, left behind. Again, we saw this at the beginning. It was Kirk Cameron starring in it, and a few other names, but it was just the budget on it wasn't very good, and it showed in the production value. This one's a much bigger budget. How did it look to you?
I mean, to me, it looks okay. I mean, I still may go out and see it because of the Nick Cage, but other than that, I'm not expecting much from this one.
Well, this is him trying to make a comeback of some sort. I mean, we've been talking about people trying to make a comeback. You mentioned Don Johnson at the top of the show.
I sure did.
Nicolas Cage is some guy who's pretty much in need of a comeback in the movie scene as well.
What sort of a loving creator takes everyone and leaves Nick Cage behind for the rest of us?
Yeah, thanks, dude.
I just hope that they make part of the plot of this that the only way Nicolas Cage can get into heaven is steal the Constitution of the United States of America.
From bees.
You know what's funny about that? Someone wrote a meme on Facebook that says, Nicolas Cage, and I quote, "I'm going to steal the book of Revelations."
Nice. All right, so you'll probably go to see it. Jacob, any interest in seeing this?
I mean, I'll probably watch it, but interest, no.
You're not really excited about the idea, Jeff? Anything move the meter for you at all?
Not really.
Not really.
I saw the preview.
I'm just wondering if Nicolas Cage saw the title and thought that this was going to be like a metaphor for his career.
It's possible. I'm sorry. You
left behind.
Wow, that's a low blow.
That was a jab, man. That was a rabbit punch. I'm sorry. You had said what right there at the very end, Jeff?
Oh, I saw the preview earlier today too. And
okay, let me ask. What did you taking a look at the trailer? Obviously, you weren't impressed by it, but taking a look at it, what'd you think?
Poot.
Yeah, just
It
not
looks poot.
not good at all.
Total poot.
They will
I
never let
watched
me be
it.
Ghost Rider again.
Yeah, I watched it. To me, this is going to be Hollywood trying to do something that's based somewhat loosely upon a faith-based idea in the book, and I think it's going to be big-budget Hollywood messing it up, kind of like they did with Noah.
It's his worst toupee since the first Ghost Rider, actually.
Well, there you go.
Gather around, fellas. Looks like these Bible stories are getting kind of big again.
Apparently so. Speaking of remakes or reboots, Ryan, talk about Stargate. You've heard plans that they're trying to come back with that?
Yes, sir. MGM and Warner Brothers Pictures, with Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin, who worked on the original 1994 film known as Stargate, they are going to make a reboot, and it's going to be the first in a new planned trilogy.
Oh, I don't want this.
I don't want it either.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't want Starhole.
Hey, guess what? The first one was terrible. Let's bring back the original filmmakers and redo it.
Yeah, right. The only reason this franchise has any legs is because of Stargate SG-1, which was actually a pretty decent show that just really ripped off a lot of plots from Star Trek.
Yeah, that's true.
How can a movie with Kurt Russell and what's his name?
Yeah, I was trying to think of the guy's name too, and I can't come up with it.
James Spader, be that bad.
Easily. Because it was.
You could think the power of those two combined.
Like, I had no problem with James
unfortunately
Spader necessarily, but the movie was boring.
Instead of the two of them pulling together like a magnet, it was like they were opposite of each other, and it just went bad.
Okay, you know it's bad when you make a movie and then the series that has freaking MacGyver in it is better.
Right. That was his cardinal sin. The movie was dull. What they got over here is like, we're in the desert.
Yeah.
That's great. It's like, that's so boring.
Oh.
Yikes.
That makes Star Trek the Motion Picture look like
Empire Strikes Back.
I don't even know what it
don't
makes
go
it
there.
look. No.
Don't
no.
go there. That's sorry. You could never go that far. It's not going to happen. That said, all right, which is worse? The fact that they want to redo Stargate, or the fact that they want to redo Ryan, another mid-90s film, this one from Sly Stallone. Not sure it warrants a reboot myself. Tell me about plans for a reboot of Cliffhanger.
Yes, sir. They are planning to remake the 1993 film. Fast and Furious franchise producer Neil Morris has hired Joe Gazam to rewrite the script, presumably keeping the basics intact about a hotshot rescue ranger gets mixed up in a botched heist with all the action played out on the wobbly ledges and the ravines of the Rocky Mountains. No casting or release date has been set as of yet.
I saw the original. I was disappointed in the original. I don't want to see it remade because I doubt seriously they're going to be able to pick it up at all. Anybody else?
I have a very important message for Hollywood right now, and I need everyone in Hollywood to hear this.
I only pray that they're listening. Go for it.
Stop it. That's it. That's all.
The only way I would be interested in this movie if we got the trailer and it turns out that the people hanging off of the cliff were movie executives who approved this film.
Hey,
it's a reality movie.
Yeah,
we could be on.
Just like we can have like executives and producers all sitting around. They're like, okay, give us a pitch, and like they give us a pitch. You're like, we could remake it, blah, blah, blah. And like, okay, and just push them off the cliff.
Or every time they give a bad pitch, we cut a little thread off of their rope.
little more.
No,
No.
no.
It's like Captain America walking up to the pilot in the Avengers. Son, just don't.
There are too many bad ones. There are too many bad executives in Hollywood. We can't waste time cutting
us, man.
We can't like waste time cutting threads off a rope. We just got to throw one off each time.
There you go, right? What are the odds you're going to see a man in a wingsuit at some point in this remake?
Yeah, probably fairly quick.
Leap off a cliff somewhere.
Yeah, really.
With his dog strapped.
Oh, I'm
to his
sure
back.
it's going to happen. I mean, come on. They'll throw every stunt of the book they can at it. Moving on here, within the past couple of weeks, we talked about the continuation of the world of Harry Potter, a film planned around the book Fantastic Beasts, Where to Find Them. We had heard that Gravity director Alfonso Cuarón was scheduled to direct this. Jacob, you're hearing different now.
Yeah, supposedly, he basically, in an interview, he said that he had a lot of love for the universe and that he really liked the films, but he was basically coming out of Gravity, which was very visually intensive, and he wants to kind of clean his palate from that type of visual film, and he wants to go back to something that is, a little different.
So nobody else has been attached to this yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, Ryan, you were about to say?
No. I had nothing on that one.
Okay, I thought you had said you were about to say something. Well, that allows us to move on to Quentin Tarantino. Has he had anything since Django Unchained?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. We know what his new thing is going to be. Jacob, tell me about The Hateful Eight.
Yeah, so this is a film that, I mean, it's another Western, but it's a film that originally, had some controversy surrounding it because the script got leaked and Tarantino got very upset about it and quit the film altogether and talk about doing it as a book. But he's come back and decided that he will shoot the movie. They're going to start shooting the movie in November of this year. And they've already gotten a few people, including Bruce Dern, Samuel L. Jackson, Michael Madsen, Kurt Russell, James Remar, Amber Tamblyn, and others.
Wow. Samuel L. Jackson's in just about everything Tarantino does.
I think so. I don't think he's made a movie that he's not been in.
Not necessarily a bad thing, just noting.
No. Yeah.
All right. Do they have an idea of when they want to get this thing out in theaters?
Not that I'm aware of yet. I don't think they've had any time frame of when it's going to be released. But
I mean, if someone tweets a set pic, he'll probably storm off and get all petulant again.
Sure, I'm sure.
I'm not making the movie.
Hey, he suffers for his work, my friends. And then there's a gentleman who passed away not too long ago, and we don't often talk about documentaries right here in movie news, but when the documentary is being made about one of, if not the most notorious movie critic of all time, Roger Ebert, I feel like we have to because, after all, we just spent a good amount of the first segment of this particular show doing what? Reviewing films. Ryan, you've seen and heard a little bit about the documentary. Tell me about this.
Yes, this is documenting Roger Ebert's life, how he came to be widely known as a movie critic, and how his opinion, really set the stage for other movie critics to come up. It's called Life Itself. It's going to hit theaters everywhere on July 4th.
Wide release or limited?
I believe it's limited release, if I remember correctly.
Because I got to admit, there's a part of me that is interested in checking this out. I remember watching Siskel and Ebert at the movies, and then later Ebert at the movies after Gene Siskel passed away. And those two guys actually kind of struck up a very odd friendship, considering they were competing movie critics at two different Chicago newspapers, one the Chicago Sun-Times, the other Chicago Tribune. But I find it interesting. I don't necessarily know how much credit or how much weight I give Roger Ebert for whether I agree or disagree with what he did when it came to reviewing, but it is an interesting life when you think about he is the only movie critic ever to win a Pulitzer Prize. And that's a pretty hefty award to win when you're talking about print media, and for a movie critic to win it, it's pretty impressive. When we come back, we will transition over to television, talk about what you can bring home from the movie theater and watch on your television. And we've actually got a couple of previews of what's coming out later on this summer, some name titles that you'll be interested in. So we will get to that, and we'll get to some TV news. Not a whole lot of it this week, but that's okay. We'll deal with it next.
Hope you got your popcorn, because we're back to the Entertainment Roundtable on Superstation 101.
This was the closest I could come. We were talking about True Detective, the TV show on HBO, coming up a little bit later. This was the closest I could come to a detective thing, so there you go.
This is my jam.
You like this?
Oh, yeah.
Little Magnum PI for you as we come back here on the Entertainment Roundtable. Not too many films coming out on DVD next Tuesday, but you could pick up, if you're interested, and I will be picking up Lone Survivor. I thought this was a fantastic film, one of the better films of last year for me. A film coming out earlier this year that actually I thought wasn't going to be that good, but was better than I expected. Robocop. Don't get me wrong, it's not cinematic gold, but it was better than I expected. And the movie Son of God, if you remember the History Channel movie or miniseries, The Bible, Son of God, very familiar to you. Not much on the TV side either, but there is Breaking Bad. The complete series is now available in one box set.
Is it The Barrel?
I think.
That's interesting.
Said very dryly.
Well, I mean, I can't afford it right now, but I mean, it's a good show.
I don't know how many people can. I mean, when you look at these complete box sets that we're talking about, generally they're $150, and a lot of them recently have been going up to about $250.
Yeah, and I was thinking, I've been through it once. I don't know if it was something that I will ever really sit down and go through again.
Gotcha.
I mean, it was fantastic, but
there's season 4 of the TV series Highway to Heaven, season 10 of a television show called New Tricks. I've never heard of this show. Anybody?
Did you say Highway to Heaven?
Yeah. Take it there's an inside joke on that, and I'm just totally
No, there isn't. I don't understand it either.
I'm just kidding. I've never watched a single episode of How
I have to admit, I've never either. But
I
season
mean,
4 is out on DVD if you're interested.
Watched it all the time when I was a kid, but, you know.
Let's see, Ryan, a couple of things here real quick coming to your home soon, if you so choose. The TV special, we saw it last year, Toy Story of Terror, the Pixar thing. Now, considering this was a 30-minute special, one's got to assume that there's going to be plenty of extras. Are we correct?
Yes. Toy Story of Terror is going to hit Blu-ray Digital HD on August the 19th. It's going to include 3 extra mini cartoons, 3 extra little mini adventures with the toys, as well as behind-the-scenes footage on how this TV special was brought to life.
When again?
On August the 19th.
Right about that time, you found out the latest Marvel film is about to be able to come home, despite it still being in theaters, actually. Be prepared to bring home Captain America Winter Soldier when?
That will be on September the 9th is when you're going to be able to bring home Captain America the Winter Soldier, the best solo Marvel film yet.
I have to admit, I can't argue
actually
with that.
have a story to add to that, too.
Oh, please do.
That I just recently saw before I could get a chance to send it to you.
Breaking news right here on the Entertainment Roundtable.
Yeah, this is going to be the first Marvel film in 5 films that doesn't get a Marvel, I think they call them one-shots, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
The short film. It's the first one that they're not doing that with.
Fine with me.
Have they said why?
I don't. They may have. I may have missed that in the story. I don't have the story printed out, but I just remember that's something I saw. So first time in 5 films.
That makes me it kind of makes me sad. I mean, it's not
a little
deal,
sad, yeah, but I don't think it's going to stop me from buying it. But yeah, I would agree. It makes me a little sad.
I really enjoy those one-shots.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, exactly. They do it well. All right, Ryan, we're going to start with you. ABC Television, they got a show coming up that in some ways kind of mirrors the upcoming Edge of Tomorrow film in the fact that their fall show called Forever is going to kind of deal with Groundhog Day in a serious way in the fact that if you die, you end up coming back. Tell me a little bit. You've seen a preview. What do you think?
Yeah, I've seen the trailer. This is starring, Ian Gruffett as well as Law & Order veteran Alana de la Garza. Alana, I love you. She plays a cop. He plays a medical examiner. He seems to be immortal. He's trying to find out why he's immortal, why, when he dies, he ends up in the, river or water or whatever with no clothing on, whatever the case may be. To me, it kind of looks cool. The premise seems, granted, we've seen it kind of time and time again in different iterations of different kinds of characters, but when you got Alana de la Garza, you just can't say no.
I can.
I'll check out the preview of it, but in watching this, they're going to have to really come up with some really good stuff for me to stick with it, I think.
Yeah, I like the premise, but in the trailer, like they had the music and the way they edited the thing, it felt like Touched by an Angel or some crap. Like,
speaking of Highway to Heaven,
a little too chick flicky to me. I don't know.
Well, I just got to the feeling. They threw the twist of the fact that if he dies, he comes back, and as you were mentioning, he dies and comes back in water and he's naked, which obviously creates some fairly interesting situations for him. So that's kind of a twist there, but otherwise, it just kind of seems like here we go with another detective procedural show.
Is it like the same spot, or like if he's near a pool, he'll be in
No, it just
pool?
kind of randomly appears in water somewhere.
Yeah. It's basically got a hint of sci-fi and a little bit of Castle.
Yeah,
and a lot of love.
To me, I just kind of think that we've seen this before. I don't know whether this is bringing much new to the table. I'll watch it, but it's going to have to really catch my attention in episode number 1 for me to stick with it.
I probably won't watch it until I know that it's good and that it's going to last, because this looks like a show you'll never find out why he keeps dying and coming back, because it's going to be canned.
I was trying to remember. We just talked about the schedule a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember where this is slotted.
This is actually slotted to air Tuesday nights at 10/9 Central on ABC.
It's going to follow Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Interesting. Got an interesting lead-in. We'll have to see where it goes. Over to cable, AMC has let us know about their plans for Season 4 of the original series Hell on Wheels. How many episodes we're going to get, Ryan, and when it's going to premiere. What do you know?
For Hell on Wheels, I believe we're going to get between 12 and 13 episodes, and the new season's going to premiere on Saturday night, August the 2nd at 9/8 Central on AMC, and finally, The Outlaw returns.
So we've got one person here who's thrilled about Hell on Wheels. At one point in time, you were actually into that show.
That first season was strong. That second season came along, I was like, wow, who are these people?
So
they look like the people from the first season, but they're not acting like the people from the first season anymore.
So you have drifted away from Hell on
Yes.
Wheels.
Yes, I have.
Gotcha. Anybody else?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was, and then I saw a link, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Are they doing a Ghost Rider series?" And then that wasn't what that was, so I kind of didn't care.
Working on the railroad, buddy.
Gotcha. Over to HBO. We don't talk about it a whole lot, obviously, because not only do you have to pay for cable, but then you have to pay extra to get HBO. But they've got a series out that is gaining attention critically, anyway. It's called True Detective. They're working up season 2, Jacob. They pulled from the TV show that, well, let's face it, it's been off the air for a decade now to get a new star. Who are they getting from the show Friends, and in what role?
Well, first of all, let me say that the story I got this from has been pulled from the site that I got it from. So it could be that this is not true, and so I'm going to downgrade this to a rumor.
Okay.
But David Schwimmer is apparently in talks to be on True Detective.
Can he take this seriously?
I think so. I mean, I've seen him do, more serious stuff since Friends, and it's not been terrible.
Yeah.
So,
for example, he was in the miniseries Band of Brothers, and he did a very good job playing a dramatic role there. I've seen him play some dramatic roles. He can do it. He's probably better known, though, since Friends for being behind the camera. He started directing episodes of Friends and has turned that into quite the directing career for himself. It's not going to make me actually want to go and check out and try and get HBO, but, hey, nice to know he's getting work. TBS apparently likes Conan O'Brien. We reported a couple of weeks ago they extended his deal to remain in the 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central time slot talk show. But they're not so enamored of Conan's follow-up, The Pete Holmes Show. Our listener Daniel let us know about this, said that TBS has announced the cancellation of the show. After 2 years, they will end its run on June 19th. They're claiming they just couldn't get the audience needed to keep it airing. So apparently the drop-off in viewership was pretty severe. I've never seen an episode of it.
Well, they couldn't get the audience for Pete Holmes because he's not funny.
Have you seen it?
I've seen his show.
Yeah.
It's not funny. He's actually really good on YouTube. Like, some of his skits are really funny, but he can't carry an entire, late night talk show. He just can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't have the charisma.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I haven't seen the entire show, but I've seen clips of the show, and the show seems funny, at least from the clips I've seen, but there again, that's just clips. I've never seen an entire show, so.
Best left in clips, apparently.
Yeah, it should just be a variety show. There should be no late night talk show aspect to it. It should just be a variety show.
Gotcha. Daniel also checked in, and we're talking about Netflix here. Ryan, we're going to come to you in a minute, but right now, Netflix apparently, Daniel states, is looking back more than a decade for some original material, sort of. It appears the service is in talks to develop a series based upon a 2001 cult comedy called Wet Hot American Summer. I am not familiar with this film. Anybody? Anybody?
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it, but I don't.
Nobody's seen it.
Wet Hot American Summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Film starred several now well-known names, some of whom were relative unknowns at the time. Then you got some bigger names who were making it on the scene, like Paul Rudd. You got Janine Garofalo, David Hyde Pierce, Molly Shannon. Christopher Maloney was kind of unknown at the time. Now he's a big name. Elizabeth Banks was unknown at the time. Now she's big. Bradley Cooper was unknown. Now, of course, because of The Hangover, he's gotten huge. The series would be a prequel to the film, which bombed at the box office, but has since gained a following on DVD.
Oh, that's too bad.
Not thrilled at all?
The movie. It's actually a good movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
And generally, if it's going to gain a following on DVD, it probably isn't all that bad, save for, I don't know, something like Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is just a cult film, period. I might actually go and check out the film just to kind of see how it is, if I can find it somewhere.
Yeah, I haven't even thought about that movie in years.
I have to admit, I just totally overlooked it. Didn't even realize it was out. Ryan, going to you and Netflix, and we've been talking about this. They're working up several Marvel-based series, including Daredevil, which we saw in very disappointing terms several years ago on the big screen with Ben Affleck, and one would assume, with Affleck assuming the bat cape here for the upcoming film, he's not going to be in the series. So who is going to star? Do we know?
Actually, we do. Stardust and Boardwalk Empire alum Charlie Cox is going to take on the role of the Man Without Fear, a.k.a. Matt Murdock, a.k.a. Daredevil, and the showrunner is now going to be, Director of the Cabin in the Woods, Drew Goddard, has stepped away, but in this case, they got Stephen DeKnight, the former showrunner of Spartacus, is going to be running the show for Daredevil.
Now, you had mentioned something about this, Jacob, real quick. Is that good, bad, indifferent on that?
I'm kind of indifferent on it. I mean, I think Goddard probably had. I mean, he wrote the first 2 episodes of the show, so it's a little disappointing that he's not going to be there to kind of complete the vision. But I mean,
he got to go make Spider-Man.
Spartacus, but I've heard it's good.
Yeah, interestingly, this makes me think that those rumors from Max Landis that Spider-Man has been gotten by Marvel again, that Marvel has taken back Spider-Man, is true. Because if they're taking Drew Goddard, who's a big Whedon guy, who worked alongside Whedon on multiple projects, and throw him over into Spider-Man at Sony, Stephen DeKnight was also, he worked on Angel.
Gotcha.
With Joss Whedon. So
Okay.
I don't know. I think this might be a indication of something bigger.
There you go. Quick rundown of the movie standings here, with Jacob and Jeff still have yet to claim anything, although Maleficent is out now for you, Jacob. New leader in the clubhouse, Josh, now $67 million for his 3 films, all of which, by the way, are $120 million, give or take. I've got $362 million. I'm top heavy with Captain America. The other two just not doing that well. Then you got Ryan, who, with the addition of Blended, is up over David. 183 was what Ryan had, but the 17 makes him right at about 200 mil, so 188 million for David. We'll see where the debuts go. Ryan, we can find you online quickly. Where?
At the RPM Show, as well as at Ryan Matthews on Facebook.
Thank you very much, Ryan. We'll talk to you 1 week from today. And David, we can find you on the internet as well.
Comedy sketches, maladjusted.tv. Go.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you listening to the Entertainment Roundtable.